Thank you for watching this Last Mile Profits video.
An amazing opportunity to hear Gary eating humble pie. Watch this to see more.
Last Mile Profits is brought to you by Parcel Pending by Quadin.
Well, Gary, I think this is going to be a very unusual episode because I gather you want to eat a bit of humble pie.
Yeah, very slightly. I think we try to maintain a bit of balance when we do these videos, and I think on one or two occasions maybe we teeter up to maybe step over the line and a little bit negative about an organisation that doesn't always necessarily deserve it. And I was at a conference in London last week and kind of repeated a couple of the views that we've expressed on here before. And I think I might have been overcritical of the post office in the UK a little bit.
So tell me more, because, the reality is it is not easy to run a large network like that, because you did that at Collect Plus for a while. What do you think then? Taking a step back, let's maybe balance the picture out a bit.
Yeah, I think you could comfortably use the word, sort of a bit beleaguered for the post office. They have everybody at them, the Horizon scandal and the ongoing inquiry. They're at stage 7 of the public inquiry into the miscarriages of justice and doing all the redress is kind of overshadowing anything else that they try to do. So, for example, they've got £120 million that they're going to pay as remuneration to the postmasters between now and the end of 2026. This is £20 million of it is already paid. This is over and above the standard contractual terms. They're trying to make it more attractive and more rewarding to be a postmaster, and you never see that reported. All you hear is the negative stuff. So, for example, WH Smith, a massive retail chain in the UK, is putting the shutters down on the high street to concentrate on their airport and railway station business. I mean, we could do a 2-hour video on WH Smith's airport business. I bought a pint of milk to bring out to Portugal last week, £1.30 for a pint of milk. And if I wanted to put it in a carrier bag, I had the option to scan a 99p carrier bag.
Got to be joking, 99p?
99p carrier bag. So,
Gary, I think we should move out of logistics and start selling carrier bags.
I think basically just selling any old tat at the airport seems to be the answer. It's all about 3 times as much as it needs to be. But in the middle of all that, so WH Smith are going to disappear off the high street, but they've got 195 post offices inside them. So keeping them open is going to be really key to some communities. The value that they add, not everyone can use a locker or wants to use a locker, and they still provide a valuable service. So, but post office are working with potential new buyers, if there are one, to make sure as many of those are kept open as physically possible. So there's stuff they're doing that just doesn't get any attention, I guess.
And there was something I think you mentioned earlier about a snippet of information or something else good that's happening there.
Well, as you know, I mean, we're the advocates of open networks, of the agnostic approach. And post office in the last few years has really, really taken on the mantle of being the agnostic PUDO, competing with Collect Plus in the UK, as you say. You have other brands that you're available across the counter. And next month, we can kind of exclusively reveal that they'll be adding DPD's international services to the counter. Now, I think that's really important because international is, as we both know, very highly profitable for some of the carriers, particularly on the retail side, because there's lack of access and lack of competition. So if you're now going to be offered Royal Mail Parcelforce services right alongside DPD services, that's going to create the market competitiveness that's only ever really going to benefit the customer. So I think that's a really positive thing.
So, I mean, in a way, the post office has had to reinvent itself. And again, most of our listeners, I'm sure, are aware, but the UK has a very unusual scenario or situation in which the post office is not actually the same company as Royal Mail. It's completely separate. And whereas historically it was all one business, and actually the post offices worked exclusively with the Mail, Royal Mail, today, as you've noted correctly, it's now an important part of the competitive environment in the UK.
Yeah, it is kind of unique that these are separate. And if I had £1 for every time somebody has called the post office Royal Mail or called more often called Royal Mail the post office and used the words interchangeably, then I would be retiring a little bit earlier. But absolutely, they are separate, and there is this competitive tension that just doesn't exist in any other market. So the fact that you can go into a post office and be offered a choice is only going to help make it more relevant on the high street than it already is. It adds 1.1 billion of value to the UK high street, by the way, apparently. So it's an important presence in the UK even still.
Well, Gary, let's do one thing. We've got a couple of minutes left, and I think this will be quite interesting because I was doing some research in a Central European market and looking at a retail network that actually was originally a newspaper network. So it's the sort of W.H. Smith's Menzies type scenario. It turned out that actually mail, and particularly international mail, were more and more important in terms of generating revenues. So what they're doing is great. They're creating competition, but also giving themselves more opportunity for revenue. If you had three sort of golden nuggets of what you think the post office could do to maintain this positive trend, what would they be?
I think they're doing a lot of it already. I mean, they're one of the biggest banking organisations in the UK as well. So they've embraced the whole financial services thing. Right, it was always where you went to get your travel money. So you always want to change your pounds to euros. Even we were never going to buy the euro, adopt the euro. So you went there for that. And now they've got sort of community banking centres that are opened up, and the Chancellor has said they're going to do more of that. So I think really, really capitalising on their presence in the banking space. I don't know if it's the same where you are, but all the high street branches of banks are closing. There's hundreds and hundreds of branches are disappearing. And for people that do depend on an over-the-counter service for transactions that aren't comfortable online, they're going to be dependent on somebody else. So I think that's a really, really key thing. I think keeping the competition over the counter is probably going to be important. But the third thing I have to say that they have to do is they have to extend their hours. Now, I did make the comment that got me into trouble was pointing out I live in my house in the UK is in a very rural area, and I have an outreach post office manned basically by a volunteer, and it's only open a few hours a week. However, having access outside of office hours is key, but I don't mean they necessarily have to do that by keeping the branch open longer. Putting a locker in the car park, or putting a locker in the lobby, or putting a locker in front of the store is something that could really, really revolutionise what they're doing. Get the 24/7 access that people want, get the services available to everybody from their location. But at the moment, and I believe this may be changing, if you manage a post office, you're not allowed to have competing services on site compared to the post office services. So until that's relaxed or changed in some way, that's going to be a difficult thing to do.
I'll just add one point because I think you're right. In a way, it's not just a commercial service they offer, but it's a service for the people. And I think that if something could happen that actually reinforces that, things that you mentioned, but also the fact that maybe there would be some funding to support inclusivity, which is a big thing, and having something open in particularly some of the smaller places, then I think that would be interesting. Anyway, I think let's see what people say. I'd love to have everyone's comments because it's probably quite an emotive topic. Do people agree with us? Have people got another idea? And as usual, if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps us keep these videos free for you. Gary, thanks very much. I will remember this for a long time. Not heard you eating humble pie for a while.
No, and I hope this is okay, Candice. See you soon.
Last Mile Profits is brought to you by Parcel Pending by Quadint.